So like how much were you guys making back then?
3 to 5 CR, if you think of it, crores in India.
Including the
India,
bonus?
Including the bonus.
I was a consultant. I'd set up my own company and consulting two companies like Unilever.
So well, you were in Unilever and then you started your
Yes.
own consulting company
Yes.
in London.
Made that decision. We made it in November 2019 that we will move back to India. So now we know it was love at first sight. Because she's refused it in many other places till now. Said, you were the one who's always after me, not me after you.
Hey, hi guys. Thank you so much for inviting me to your house. Swastik, from being neighbors at work to finally inviting me to your house in Trump Tower. Thank you so much.
No, my pleasure. Thanks. It's great to have you.
So like, this is like probably the one of the most premium apartments in Mumbai, right? From what I understand. I mean, Trump, the word says that. So like, did you guys buy this or are you guys renting?
No, we are renting it.
Renting. Like, if I may ask, like, what is the rent of this place?
Pretty toppy. It's about between 2 to 2.5.
Paying 2.5 lakhs rent per month, definitely on the upper side for most, when you consider the average in India. So to reach that point in life, I'm sure there has been a lot of, there's a backstory in exactly how you reach this level of wealth in your life. So can you just walk me through what your background is, starting from maybe from the time you finished your college? Exactly what did you do in your career which led you to a path, or led you to this point where you can afford this kind of a house?
So I grew up in a middle class family, though which was a very academically, aligned family. My dad is a professor. My mom's a professor.
Okay.
So I can't say that we ever grew up in affluence, but always had a very intellectual upbringing. Traditional path was one that I followed, do your engineering, for example. So I did my chemical engineering from one of the, the well-known institutes here, ICT.
Okay.
One of its claims to fame is, for example, Mukesh Ambani studied there,
Okay.
amongst other well-known folks. I joined an engineering firm. So I did a short internship in China, and then afterwards I landed up joining L&T, which is a well-known engineering major firm over here, for a princely sum of, I think, about 12,000 rupees a month.
Okay.
This
When
was
was
back
this?
in 2005.
2005. So that's probably like what, 30,000 per month today.
Maybe, yeah.
Okay.
But sometimes when I listen to, fresh graduates today, they're still kind of earning that kind of money, right?
Right. I mean, I started off also with 27,000 a month about 5 years back. So
Right.
it's in that same inflation rate.
I remember that my life as an engineer was very short-lived. It was less than a year.
Okay.
One of my clients was a oil and gas major. I went to the site once. I could not stand it. I
Okay.
said, that's it. I can't be doing this for the rest of my life.
Okay.
And then I doubled down on, preparing for my MBA. So in 2006, I joined IIM A. After I joined business school, always wanting to be a consultant.
You mean like
joining on the-
management consulting?
That's right.
Like the BCG, McKinsey's of the world.
Correct.
Okay.
But there was a particular unique point when I was, there would be loads of companies which were the investment banks and the major consulting firms which would come in for your summer internship. I thought, okay, this is a summer internship. I might as well give it a shot once. And if I don't like it, I won't, stay a banker. There's
Yeah.
always be an opportunity to becoming a consultant later. And that's when I landed up doing in 2007 my internship at Deutsche Bank. This was a 2-month internship, 1 month of which was in London and another in Hong Kong.
Okay.
With Swastik, he's quite a stickler for details, right?
Like what do you mean by
So,
stickler? Like very particular?
Very particular. So with his management consultant piece, he wanted only only a couple of firms. When he didn't get number 1, 2, the third one was something I don't want to do it,
Okay.
right? So I'd rather go for other profession, but that's it. Either 1 or 2 or it doesn't happen, right?
It was that
So-
kind of a guy.
And this was, pre-financial crisis. This is in 2007. This is
Okay.
the heydays of investment banking.
Right.
Right? And then, what was the holy grail back then? You got a pre-placement offer from
Okay.
your internship.
How much did you get it for?
I think it was back then pretty good. Like it was £58,000 plus a sign-on bonus of another 20,000.
So as per
or
today's
so.
conversion, it's like around 55 lakhs. 56,
Yeah, I think it was
58
about 78 to 80 lakhs back then.
Okay.
Plus an assured bonus, that's why then the revered 1 crore plus
Right.
salary, right? This was the one that would make it
In the
to
newspaper.
the newspaper.
So how old were you at this point of time?
I was 24.
So at 24 years old, you got a 1 crore package. So like how was your interaction meeting? Like what made you attracted?
It was love. At first sight, yeah.
That exists.
That still exists, yes.
Okay.
And our testimony is our daughter, right?
Huh.
Our 6-year-old. But yeah, it was that instant connection that we felt. Yeah.
So now we know it was love at first sight. Because she's refused it in many other places till now. Said, you were the one who was always after me, not me after you.
So getting that 1 crore package and meeting her, probably the two happiest moments of your life until then.
Yeah, and then, you joined in 2008. This was still before, what is very well known as the Lehman crisis, right?
Then you continued investment banking for another 10 years after
10
that.
years. That's
So
right.
what were you doing during
So
the crash?
2008 was the financial crisis.
Okay.
2009, we got married,
Okay.
right?
So, like, what made you think that, okay, now it's time to come back to India? Because it'd be a very difficult decision, right? To leave the comforts of good life.
That's right. So I think, after about 10 years in banking, I realized that I'm doing the same thing again and again, and it was a bit of a rut.
So you were like 35 at this point of time.
That's about right.
Okay.
In 2018, that's what, it felt like. That's when I left banking, and I felt like, what's the next thing to do? And going back to, why I wanted to do my MBA, it was, I always wanted to do something entrepreneurial sometime in my life.
Right.
And I felt that was the right time. Being in a place like the UK, which was pretty much the home of fintech as it stood then. But there was something which I felt I must also do for India, and, marry that entrepreneurial zeal in some way, giving back to India as well. And that's what resulted in building Winvesta as we're doing it right now.
2016, both Swastik and me were solid in our careers. We were, Swastik was of course a director with Deutsche Bank at that point in time when he decided to start Winvesta. I was a consultant. I'd set up my own company and consulting to companies like Unilever, AkzoNobel.
So you were in
BMW.
Unilever and then you started your
Yes.
own consulting
Yes.
company
Yes.
in
Yes.
London.
So we were set, and then we had a daughter, Kimaya, in 2017
Okay.
Right.
In London only.
in London.
Okay. Now that you guys have decided to come to India, this was in 2018. What exactly were you guys leaving behind? Like, how much were you guys earning? I mean, you said you were a director and you were running your own consulting company. So, how much were you guys making back then?
Yeah, I think our director easily at that time could be making 400,000 to 500,000 pounds, right? So in that
Okay.
kind of
I
range.
didn't know
is
that.
right.
Okay. That's a big number.
That is a big number, right? So I mean, it would vary between
At 35
because there's a
years.
very large bonus component at times. So it could
Right.
be anything from
This is including
3
the
to 5
bonus.
CR if you think of it, crores in India,
Including
in
the
India,
bonus.
including the bonus.
At the age of 35.
Yeah.
Okay. And what were you making?
So I would say a total the household income would be around that mark that Swastik mentioned, which
Okay.
is a very towards the higher end. Plus, we already had our own apartment.
So then from there to Zoop coming to Mumbai, what happened?
Yeah. So I think the decision also was because we are both only children,
Yeah.
and we had a 2-year-old daughter.
Okay.
Who, we wanted to have her close to her grandparents as well. We moved here in Feb 2020 with a very different set of assumptions, pre-COVID. But when we landed, shortly after that, of course, we had the lockdown.
Right.
And then we spent the next 8 months in my childhood bedroom, but with the 3 of us and our luggage from London. So I think that was a very, very, difficult time in our lives. That's the early days of how Winvesta started off as well.
At that point of time, did you feel like, oh shit, I made the bad decision, I should have stayed back?
We often thought of that because, at times you felt that the UK is doing better than here. What did you leave back as well? When we landed here, we didn't have a social circle.
Right.
We didn't have help as well, right? Which people in India are fairly attuned to. Not that we expected it because in London we didn't have some as well. But yeah, the set of assumptions you moved back to India with were completely dashed to the ground.
And then what happened? Then how did you set up Winvesta from there? What is the story?
Yeah, so we started we'd started building the product prior to COVID.
So can you just tell in a few sentences what exactly is Winvesta?
Yeah, so Winvesta is a cross-border financial services firm. We have cross-border payments for Indian businesses, overseas banking for individuals, and overseas investing for individuals as well.
Okay.
So we're building at Winvesta the horizontal cross-border stack for India.
So, what was your parallel story after Zup coming to Mumbai?
We saw a new India. We saw like things change quite a lot, right? There's the shopping, the way we used to shop, the way we used to buy our groceries changed quite a lot. And at that point in time, I saw farmers coming there to sell their produce. That's when I started working on building a platform, SafeQu, to give end consumers access to high quality, fresh, exotic fruits and vegetables.
So both of you guys are entrepreneurs. So how is it like handling both business and family together? Because even me and my sister, we work together, and sometimes there is no line between work and personal life. So work also comes home. So how do you guys manage it?
It was crazy.
Okay.
Yeah. I think one thing that's different for us is that we don't work in the same business.
Yeah.
So that's at least one saving grace, I'd say. And I think I often think this, that we can't work together as well, right? Which is the reason why we've got these two different things. But it's difficult, right? Because there's always a constant pull because of work.
Yeah.
And there's a continuous feeling of guilt that you're not doing enough for home as well.
So just a quick question. So would you consider yourself to be like financially independent right now? Like, would you say that like if you didn't work for the next 10 years, would that be okay? Money-wise?
I don't think I'd feel that as much, just being very risk-averse about it.
Okay.
But probably for many folks, it would feel good enough as well. I think there's enough to feel financially independent.
Like, how do you define financial independence?
I think for me, it's the freedom to do what you want to do with your time.
So you feel like today, money controls you, even today?
I think to a certain extent, but not as much as you'd feel compelled to work for money, no matter what it is, as well.
Okay.
Right? And I think that's an important demarcation, that right now then the want to be doing what you want to do should outweigh the need that, hey, you must have a significant salary.
As an entrepreneur, like what kind of salaries are you drawing right now?
So at times, I've chosen to not draw a salary because, you wanted to invest in the company itself. So I'd say, for the last almost 10 months, I've chosen not to draw a salary as well.
So I think the ability to do that alone, in my definition, would mean that you have reached that point where you're not choosing something just because it gives you more money. You're choosing something, you can play the longer game and afford not to, take a salary for a long period of time. Most people never reach that point in life. Awesome, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thanks. Pleasure having you.
You.